Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Daily Bizline featuring Jane Cebrynski. Jane, thanks again for being here today.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, 10 moments here for sure.
All right, let's get right into it.
Yeah, for sure. No, today I'm really excited because we're covering the topic of the power of mindset. And so I think, this is something really powerful and that hits home for a lot of us. A lot of us have been kind of stuck in this fixed mindset rather than the growth mindset. So looking forward to hearing what you have to share with our audience today.
Beautiful. I can't wait. So first, give me that 10 moment.
The 10 moment of the week, I'm actively involved out at Luke Air Force Base. And so this week we made some gift baskets because they're actually hosting a golf tournament next Friday, which
Yay.
is the first event I've been to since probably like February, March. So that's a 10 moment for me. I'm looking forward to getting out there in the community again next week. So that should be fun.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's awesome. Really great. Well, I wanted to talk about mindset because it's been showing up a lot this week. And of course, it's super relevant with what we've been experiencing, over the last several months. And it's certainly an opportunity for us to kind of check in with ourselves and ask the question, do I have a fixed mindset or do I have a growth mindset? And I think a lot of people are really familiar with the work that's been done by Carol Dweck. She's written a book on mindset. It's been around for a really long time. And I just wanted to kind of share some of the differences maybe and talk a little bit about a new mindset that's starting to show up that we can cultivate and develop. And that's the cool thing is even if we have a fixed mindset, we can cultivate and develop a growth mindset. But
Yes.
Generally, go ahead.
I was going to say something that really stood out to me in our previous conversation about, overall mindset was that having a fixed mindset isn't necessarily a bad thing. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about that?
Sure. It comes back to that me cue that we've talked about, that awareness of self first. And we often think a fixed mindset is negative. And we want to be in that place of growth. But a fixed mindset, you may have a fixed mindset around a particular value or something, for example, religion, maybe. You have a fixed mindset around. There's nothing wrong with that. It's simply like, I'm not going to move off of this. This is how I think about it. This is what I feel, and you're not going to be able to change me in that way. And knowing that about yourself and being able to communicate that to others is really important, because when we think about growth and development of ourselves or on teams, you've got to be able to communicate, like, where do I have a fixed mindset and where do I have a growth mindset? And first recognizing it. So generally that fixed mindset is exactly like the word says, you're fixed. You oftentimes see challenges and obstacles as challenges, and you want to give up a little bit easier. You avoid challenges. And oftentimes we don't appreciate criticism. We see it negatively and we want to ignore it. And then sometimes that causes you to be jealous of other people's success. Whereas a growth mindset says, okay, I'm going to embrace these challenges. I'm going to see the obstacles as an opportunity to develop mastery around something. And I'm going to find the inspiration in other people's success. And I'll receive feedback and criticism as a way to help me grow. So thoughts, comments on that as you think about yourself or people you've been around?
Yeah, well, I personally think about what we're doing at Fenimore Craig with our big merger, and that's been a big growth opportunity for a lot of us because not many individuals have gone through a merger, especially of this size or scale. And so it's been really cool to see how lots of our team members have had more of that growth mindset. My question for you, though, Jane, is as you are approaching to have these conversations with team members internally, how would you suggest setting up those initial conversations?
Well, you can ask those questions and you can begin to observe, and you'll oftentimes, again, it's all right. So who's resisting the merger and why? And, are they already putting up all the roadblocks and all of the obstacles saying, I give up, I'm not going to do this. And again, no, there's no judgment, there's no shame, there's no blame. In this recent environment that we've been in, it's been real easy to just shut down and give up because we're faced with so many challenges. But the cool part is, and that's oftentimes where a coach becomes really helpful to get people out of that fixed mindset and into a growth mindset, and seeing that there's a benefit to it, seeing that there's value to it. And a lot of times it's fear. we're just afraid. And I work with a lot of high achievers, and I believe, because this is true for me, I discovered I had a fixed mindset around a lot of things where I was like, no, I'm so growth oriented, no problem. And then as I started to look at, certain things that were showing up in my life and happening, I'm like, ooh, I kind of have a fixed mindset around that. And had to work and had to practice and to develop more of that growth mindset, because I've always wanted to grow, but I saw where it was becoming a performance barrier. And I think that's what's really critical is, is it becoming a performance barrier for you? Is it getting in the way of you being able to achieve goals and move forward in a way that you want for your whole life?
And this ties back to overall self-awareness as well. So as we become more self-aware and identify, are we in a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? For those individuals that find that they are in the fixed mindset, what challenge would you offer to them for this week?
Well, I would ask them to just take a look and see how they can get some new thinking around it. Because oftentimes with the high achiever, we don't want to fail. So we'll avoid taking that risk just so that we can continue to stay successful. And if you just think of somebody like a Michael Jordan, who said, I had to fail 1,000 times in order to achieve the kind of success that I did. And we talk about, the new thinking I'd like to introduce is, if you can see going for something as a win and not a failure, then we're liable to take more chances. We're liable to take more risks. I mean, it's easy to stand on the sidelines, but if you just get in the game, even if you mess up, even if you make mistakes, even if you don't succeed the way you want to, just putting yourself in the game is a win. And I want to share with you, there was a new study done this summer through Science Daily, and the gal who did it is partnering up with Carol Dweck to come out with some new research. But they're talking now about strategic mindset. And what they're showing is, when you're faced with a difficult challenge, whether it's personal or professional, simply asking yourself the question, how can I do this differently? What's a different way for me to look at this? They're saying that asking these questions strategically of yourself is really becoming the key factor in achieving goals. And so that would be the challenge that I would encourage everyone, including myself, I'm doing this myself, to go, okay, what's a challenge I'm facing right now? And ask myself, how can I do this differently? How can I do this better? How can I look at it differently? Because oftentimes the way we see it is what is our performance barrier. And so how can we think about it a little bit differently? And go for it.
I love it. Well, that sounds like a great challenge for us this week. Jane, is there anything else that you'd like to leave our audience with today?
No, I just want to encourage everyone to continue to find more 10 moments and celebrate the little wins, because those little wins lead to big wins, and we need to continue to motivate ourselves. And now more than ever, I think people are in that mindset of rebooting, growing, and moving forward.
Jane, thanks again for being here today.
Thanks, Lindsay. Have a great week.